Our next speaker is Dr. Geetha Vani. Dr. Geetha Vani has done a PhD in CSC biochemistry from IIT Kanpur, and she has a vast experience in academia, industry, and the national labs in India. And currently, she is heading the Science Communication and Dissemination Directorate at CSIR-HRDG. Now, the floor belongs to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. And a small correction, I think that's an old. I'm now correctly heading the Human Resource Development Group at CSIR. No, it's okay. I was doing that earlier, so that's okay. So as we are waiting for these slides. Yeah, so firstly, thank you for inviting me for this trip, trip 2025. It's been really a nice journey and very fascinating to see the diverse set of stakeholders here. And so, I think we heard a lot about technology. The last few sessions have been on sustainability, technologies, and so on and so forth. Yeah, but the question is, who is driving this technology? So we cannot forget the people. So I am going to bring in the people component. That who are these people who are doing the technology innovation, and what have we done so far in the country? Right. Yeah, so I think while they try to fix the slides, I'm from CSIR, the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. I think most of you must have heard about CSIR and must have interacted with CSIR at some point or the other. Maybe some of you have got fellowships from CSIR. I think some of the people must have given an exam to qualify for the fellowships or postdoctoral fellowship. So CSIR, I think, has touched almost everybody in the scientific community at some point or the other. So what I am going to do is, when we are talking about Viksit Bharat, what I want to do is, when we are talking about Viksit Bharat 2047, I think it's the youngsters who are sitting behind will be on the stage and will be actually taking the country forward. So I think we need to see how we create opportunities for these youngsters in this journey towards Viksit Bharat, or maybe for developed country by 2047, which Honorable PM and the government has been striving for. So in this context, what I would like to so in this context, what I would like to highlight is CSIR has been established in 1942, and right when CSIR was established as a society with the Honorable Prime Minister as the chairman of the society, its mandate was to actually have fellowships. So even in 1942, even before India's independence, when this organization was formed, two mandates were: one is to provide research fellowships, and the other was the research grants. So I think there was emphasis on actually providing the avenues for the youngsters to take up research. So I just want to highlight that. I think my slides are going to be a problem. Anyways, I'll speak about it. So as I said, we are always focused on the fellowships. So I am going to, as I said, in 1950s itself, many of CSI started the postdoctoral fellowship programs way back in 1950, realizing the importance of promoting science and technology in the country. And yeah, thank you. Yeah. So as I was talking about, our ambitions are big, and we are will rightfully become a Atmanirbhar Bharat and Viksit Bharat by 20. But who is going to do this? And as I said, if we really want to be a global R&D hub, we really need to have outstanding and inclusive research manpower. So I want to shift the focus from the technology orientation to the manpower generation. Now, how are you going to identify and empower these people? And I think many of you know the statistics that in India, the number of usually when you calculate the R&D capacity of the country, that is the researchers per million. And if you compare India with US and China, India's researchers per million is very good. And today we are talking of the future car and technologists. Now, who is going to develop this technology? So I just want to highlight, because I'm from CSIR and I've been leading this, what has been the role of CSIR in the capacity building in the country in science and technology? As I was mentioning, many of you know CSIR by its technologies and by its interventions. And as I said, right from the indelible link, which everybody, when you do the election voting, it was developed by CSIR to the Amul food spray. I think many technologies have been developed as far as tractor. But one of the other major contributions has been the development of human resources in the country. And as I mentioned, IIT 1942, it was included in the mandate that we have to provide research fellowship. And we also conduct this national exam, which is called as the CSIR-HRDG exam, based on which students get a fellowship. So this is a pioneering contribution, and I can say that more than 1 lakh people have benefited from CSIR's fellowship system in the country. So as I said, postdoctoral fellowships were introduced way back in 1950, and doctoral fellowship started in 1983, leading for the PhD. And we also do extra-curricular grant. Again, this was started in 1943. And because this was a very important arm of CSIR to fund and help setting up of many institutions in the country, like the Atomic Energy or PIFR. Many of those grants for that came from CSIR, where the country was setting up new institutions. And we also work with several universities. And earlier there was a very prestigious Bhatnagar Award. Now we are also doing the Rashtriya Vigyan Puraskar, which is a Padma Awards kind of thing for science and technology. And apart from that, we also started a school program, which I'll talk about a little later. I won't go into the details, but in 1983 we started to have our own examination, and UGC also joined with us. So we got it the joint UGC NET exam, and we have done significant contributions to the country's ecosystem. So we are roughly supporting 7,000 to 8,000 fellows for any point of time who are actually continuing doing PhD in the country or in any university or institution. And as I said, postdoctoral fellowships is another arm of CSIR, and we've been doing this again from 1950s onwards. And there are different kinds of fellowships. I'm not going to the details. So it started in 1950, and we have 18 disciplines. And this is mostly for the students in your audience who want to, apply for fellowship and so on and so forth. It goes from science and engineering and technology. Many disciplines are supported. And one of the important things I would like to highlight today, we are talking of the problems in the West, and many people want to come back to India, and we need to create opportunities for those who want to return to India. And in 1958, CSIR had developed this scheme, which is called as a full scheme, because at that time India was in need of trained manpower, and to attract people, many of them went abroad to train and come back and contribute to the countries. And this scheme was started in 1958 because mainly to attract the talent. And I think now with the global situation, I think it's time to kind of think of newer schemes where we can actually get people who are trained and contribute to the Indian R&D ecosystem. This is again another interesting thing is not only people. So there are many people who qualify the exam and get the fellowship. But what about those people who cannot qualify the exam? Because exam is only one parameter. So we also have an interesting scheme which is the direct SRF, where if you have worked in a research lab and shown that you are able to publications, you don't really need to clear the exam, there is an available. So I think we need to really diversify the kind of opportunities for the youngsters in order to come to research and technology. Because unless we have a strong R&D base, we cannot achieve in technology and innovation what we really want to do. And so now the question is, why should we do this research fellowship? What is it going to give us? Right? And rightly we are asked. So actually, if you look, many of them are still pursuing science because many think times are what happens to the students after they do PhD. You see, about 50% of them either many of them go abroad for research, and then many of them are teaching. So again, a very important component when you look at research fellowships. So 38% have been working as researchers, and there are very few people who really do not continue in science. So it's actually one of the studies is important that people are actually taking up science and moving forward. And one of the contributions, I think you all know that India is top 3 in the number of publications. Now that would not have happened without increasing the researchers per million. And that is happening only because we are able to offer fellowships and research grants to support the people to take up science and technology. And as we want to go even further, I think if we want to be not only the quantity but also the quality, I think it's important that we actually do much more in terms of funding these researchers for fellowships and grants. And so before going, I just want to So one, and when we talk about research, I think there is very importance of diversity and inclusivity. And one of the things which we all know is that women in STEM, although the signs are very positive, now number of people taking a PhD, the women has really increased. In our own fellowship, we see almost 45% are women who are receiving the fellowships. It's an encouraging number. But then what happens, we all know the leaky pipeline, when we become researchers and when we become professors, the number drops. So why is that also? We know that many times many women are not able to get a grant. So we had this special call, which was a unique thing which we called only for women. And initially we expected it to be a couple of hundred, but we got 3,000 applications. That was really heartfelt for us that there are so many women seeking opportunities, women from colleges and universities. Obviously we couldn't find everybody. It was an encouraging sign that there is a lot of people waiting for opportunities. This I think as policy makers and we need to look at this, and I'm really acknowledge Dr. Ashutosh Sharma who started this INSA Women Scientists Associate programs also. I think we really need to have these programs which encourage women to take up leadership roles as we go forward. And so the last part I want to highlight, CSIR has always been doing this fellowship which is catering to the people who do masters and bachelors, integrated bachelors. But then we also are focusing on early in the pipeline. And we all are talking about innovation, and somebody mentioned, in the schools, how much are we allowing them to think beyond the six schools? And I think NEP 2020 is a step in that direction. So one of the things which CSIR has really taken up in the last 8 years, an entrepreneurship program, and all the 37 CSIR labs are taking it up very actively. And I'm happy to say that more than 13 to 14 lakh students are benefited from this program across the country. And I think it's very important, we need to start early if we really want to bring innovation and science and technology and learning. Otherwise, it will be, already the number of people who make science is few, but you have started the school stage and you have had many successful programs and you work with a variety of partners. And in the recent Mann Ki Baat episode, Honorable PM talked on Monday as a scientist, can students get experience what is it to be a scientist? And we ran this program because Honorable Minister was there just last week. Almost 14,000 school students had an opportunity to visit CSIR labs, actually do the experiments and see what is science, what is curiosity, how do you do innovation. And so these are some of the initiatives. We have also have a science mobile labs which go around because not everybody can come to labs, but then you reach out to the different colleges. So this is one such effort from Hyderabad. We are talking about genetic diseases. And how do you diagnose them? And it's very important to take science to the people. And I think beyond the metro cities, and this was one effort in that direction. And because we are talking of innovation, and I want to talk about, there are innovation, there are people who are very innovative. Dr. Mashekar talked about innovation and how they are having awards. I just want to give you an example, which we did last year. Which is called as the Epic Hackathon. We launched a hackathon for the school students, and we gave 2 topics. One has the clean and green energy, and we gave them problem statements and said, here are the problem statements. Now you come up with a proposal, and we got proposals. And what we did was we just did not take up the proposal and say, okay, your proposal is very good. We actually made them do internship in a CSIR lab for 2 months. A mentor was identified with them, and they worked on the idea. So they were not just working ideas, but they actually developed prototypes. And that's what I think you need to inculcate innovation in the students. Only then the future is secure, because you do not know what it will be 20 years later, what technology will come. The only investment you have is in human resources. So we did this online internship for 2 months, and then we got co-funding from CIFLA who gave us a fund. So actually there was a demonstration, and one of the students, I don't know whether this video will work here, but it's not working. So we had 4 winners, Jagdeep Singh. He actually developed this solar wind engine, and he actually got an international grant of $10,000 based on his innovation, and $5,000 for actually taking it forward. And he has got admission in Purdue University. So I think the talent is not lacking in our country. The problem is the opportunities. How do you give opportunities? This is one example I'm talking about in a limited exercise. So what I want to leave all of you here is how do we augment the research and innovation ecosystem in India? Because we are not talking of technologies. I would like to bring the emphasis on people. So I think we have C.V. Raman, That time it was very resource crunch, but still you could get Nobel Prize. Unless you have innovative people, they will, I think once we focus on people and empower them, I think that is what is important. So in the whole ecosystem, you should not forget the people when you're talking about missions and technologies and funding. I think it's also important to invest in the people. We have a huge advantage, demographic advantage, diversity, and there's still significant number of students who take up science and engineering. And we are all giving fellowship from the government, significant numbers. And I think all the departments have excellent programs, BPSC, CSIR, and also undertaking labs have come up. And all that. But what are the challenges? But I think there is no systemic way where you can actually, if a person says, I have an idea and I want to take it forward. Yes, we have bits and pieces, but there is no actually a platform, and we need to, strengthen our education, research, and innovation linkages. So reform economy and diverse entrepreneurial models. Again, I think there's no one model which fits everybody. We need to have different sets of models, and as I said, talent is not lacking. So what I want to throw out as an idea is, can we have something like a fellowship, like way CSIR did for a research? Okay, here is the fellowship for 5 years. You go to the research of choice to the institution you want to do the research project. Can we have something like an innovation fellowship? Here is an idea. Okay, you have an idea. Go and work in incubation center or any place which is ready to host you. And when we're talking about funding, most of the funding is going for the project development. And many people cannot take that risk because what do you do for your salary? Not everybody is rich that they can become an entrepreneur tomorrow, not worry about the salary or a fellowship. So idea is if you can give a fellowship for the fellow or for everybody, say for 2 years, here is a research fellowship, we do the innovation, not any research. Like the way we are doing for research fellowship, that you fund that and you also tie up with the incubation center because you have to de-risk what is entrepreneurship. Because many times not everybody can take a risk without money at the end of the day. What innovation are they going to do? So I think this is time that, and we have early exposure. By the time they've done PhD, it's too late, as all India said. So we need to, our pipeline should be from high school students to undergraduates and postgraduates. We are not tapping into that pool of human resources which are available. And I think, so this is one of my ideas which I would like to explore at CSIR and also outside of CSIR. And I think since many of you are here as policymakers at high levels, I think if we really want to make India innovation leader, I think we need to somehow change, like research fellowships have really done. Today, whatever we are as a country is because of the strong research and emphasis on in our country. So I'll just give you, so this is what I always talk about transforming scientific human resource development. So yes, we are all working on science-led research grants, we have postdoctoral fellowships, but I think the unmet need is if we really want to start with the school students and undergraduates and the masters. So can we really get them into the workforce for innovation? Of course, things are much better than what it was earlier. We do see a lot of entrepreneurs, but with India's diversity and strength, I think there is a room for much more. So I just want to leave this as my last slide. In the Nature, it was covered that India is leading and following China's footsteps. It was a very encouraging article to say that India had really made a lot of leaps in some of the rankings. Of course, China is much ahead, but comparatively, the growth was very high. Now, the analysis in the paper was why is India doing well? Two reasons they talked about. One is the growing number of research institutions. In the past decade, the number of universities has increased, opportunities have. And the second part, which is the availability of large number of scholarships and fellowships that have been available to students wanting to pursue PhD. So I think this is where, and in some cases, masters. Instead of some making cases, masters, if we can really, strengthen this, I think it is definitely India can become an innovation leader and achieve the vision of 2047. Thank you.